welcome to the semifinals of the StarCityGames.com Indianapolis Open Weekend. Cedric Phillips, Patrick Sullivan here in the booth, Nick Miller down there in the feature match area, as we're going to watch Andrew Jessup do battle against Alex Zurawski in an in-fact mirror, but not a traditional one. It's green-blue against green-black. This is one of the few times where it's tough to make a prediction just because we do not see this matchup very often.
Yeah, I'm guessing both decks are fairly comparable in terms of, you know, are the black cards better than the blue cards? It's probably pretty close. Having access to Abrupt Decay is nice. Blighted Agent's probably the best threat in the matchup. But again, I'm of the opinion that the die roll, who gets to play first in a matchup this fast, probably matters more than what color you pair with green.
Well, Jessup's going to start things off with a Glistener Elf, Misty Rainforest, searching up a breeding pool to enable that as we head back over to Alex. Alex with Pendelhaven, he's got a Glistener Elf of his own.
Doesn't even want to look at the draw step.
Yeah, he knows what he wants to do. Jessup, he'll serve in here. Pretty quick trade. Inkmoth Nexus, and he'll just pass the turn. Back over to Alex we go. Land number 2 is a swamp. Here's another Glistener Elf. And Jessup will draw. Are the blue cards better than the black ones in this matchup? That's the question.
Or will it even come down to that?
Yeah.
We could do basically just a bunch of green cards bouncing off each other here. Nexus plus pump spells on Jessup's side, and Glistener Elf plus pump spells on Alex's side.
Curious as how Andrew wants to move forward this turn. Inkmoth is such a resilient threat, but it does require quite the mana investment. Here it comes. Just one infect.
This might be Jessup's best threat in the matchup because it's immune to Abrupt Decay.
Sure, that makes some sense. Might have Old Corrosion the draw. That's a Verdant Catacombs. Here comes Glistener Elf.
A place where
the
the green-black deck may be a bit worse is the mana base being a lot worse. Because you need double black for Phyrexian Crusader, and additionally, your Noble Hierarch doesn't make black mana, but it makes blue mana for the green-blue build.
Well, here's the thing. Alex does tap out there. Phyrexian Crusader. He could die right now.
Well, Jessup has Become Immense in hand and has a Pendelhaven as well that he elected to not play last turn and instead play Fetch Land. That means I think Jessup is setting up a kill this turn and he needed to get an additional card in his graveyard for Become Immense to set this all up.
Trying to load up the graveyard?
Yeah. If he didn't play Pendelhaven for the extra point, it means he really needs an extra card in the graveyard.
Well, let's see what he draws. Blighted Agent. Is it lights out here for Alex Zurawski?
Legacy Classic players, we have your standings after 8 rounds of Swiss.
Doesn't look like it just yet with how Jessup's moving this turn.
In first place with 21 points is Robert Cucinato.
Yeah, there's no interaction here at 0 mana here. And Zurawski doesn't have a flyer to block, so this is just the math.
In third place with 20 points is Isaac Sigmund. In fourth place with 20 points is
a lot here for Andrew Jessup to think about.
In fifth place,
because one of the things he could also do is potentially try to get a little defensive. There's a Windswept Teeth.
I think that if he wants to get defensive, he needs a second threat to block with.
Okay. Well, he does have Blighted Agent, so he could play Blighted Agent and then leave up Nexus. I don't know how far that gets him.
You can't really block and use pump spells to make your threat survive against other infect threats. So you just have to be on the front foot the whole time. If Jessup needs one more turn, then you can attack and play a chump blocker and hope that that's good enough to get out.
Oh, here he comes. All right, here's Become Immense. Attack for 7 infect. Sucks, going to go up to 8 infect. All right, so very clear what the plan is here. Please don't kill me.
Yep. Can't beat Become Immense, and he can't beat multiple +4s.
Become Immense the draw. The hand right now, is the hand like 3 Become Immenses?
I mean, I think Zurawski basically needs a land or any +4 to be able to kill.
Oh, so this is the problem you kind of talked about, right? With the mana deficiencies?
The swamp. That swamp is killing him.
The swamp is killing him right now.
He basically missed one turn of development early on because he had a swamp instead of a forest to do something with. And now,
his hand is Vines.
right.
Might of Old Croja to become immense. He couldn't kill him that turn.
You'll notice that Jessup, if memory serves, does not have an island in his deck. Everything makes green mana or is a Nexus.
Here comes Nexus. Here's the attack. That's a Pendelhaven activation. Vines is going to try to counter that. Does Jessup have a response here? He has a Vines of his own. That is going to do it. Andrew Jessup's going to win game number 1 here over Alex Zurawski. Green-blue Infect up a game over green-black Infect. And you see the problem there with the swamp and maybe some of the cost of playing a different color.
Devil's in the details, you know. And that's not just one random swamp in the deck. There are 2. That's a function of having Phyrexian Crusader and the demands that puts on your mana base. And if that swamp is a green source of mana there, he wins game 1. Instead, he loses.
Yeah, he needs different things for black mana in his deck. Inquisition of Kozilek, Plague Stinger, be able to search up a swamp maybe against a deck that has Blood Moon, stuff like that, where you don't see that sort of activity in Green-Blue Infect. So we go to the sideboards here. We'll take a look at 3 Nature's Claim, 2 Dismember, 2 Dark Blast, 2 Pulse of Marasa, 4 Duress, a Spellskite, which of course is coming in, and a Carrion Call.
The Spellskite, the 4 copies of Duress seem great here. To me, the superstars are the removal spell. 2 copies of Dismember, that's great interaction, and 2 copies of Dark Blast. If Zurawski is able to settle the game down a little bit, Dark Blast can win the game on its own.
One of the best cards in the mirror. For Andrew Jessup, 2 Spell Pierce, a Dispel, 2 Dismember, a Twisted Image, a Grafdigger's Cage, 4 Kitchen Finks, 3 Nature's Claim, and a Dryad Arbor.
Much the same story here. I think you're going to see the 2 Dismembers come in, the copy of Twisted Image as an answer to Spellskite. If Jessup feels like he's got the room, you may see some of the Spell Pierce Dispel action. I think Dispel is almost certainly coming in. Spell Pierce is a little bit more shaky, but may make the cut as well.
Well, that gives you an idea of what both players have access to. So, we'll see Alex Zurawski on the play here for game number 2 with his green-black Infect deck. See if he's able to tie things up here against Andrew Jessup. In the meantime, we're going to talk about the Season 2 schedule on the SCG Tour. We kick things off with our Columbus Invitational weekend. Max McVitie did win that tournament, so he's got his beautiful Clue token. He's also $10,000 richer. Milwaukee Open weekend took place. Amazon Company dominated there, but it's not dominating here in Indianapolis. No copies in day number 2. We run Grand Prix Charlotte Modern Weekend next week, and then the ATL.
Yeah, we'll be in June. We'll be in Atlanta and then Orlando for Standard Opens, and then to close out June, a Modern Open in Dallas. After that, we're in July. We head to Worcester, Massachusetts for a Legacy Open, a Standard Open in Columbus, Standard Open in Baltimore. August 6th, Regional Championships. StarCityGames.com/regionals for more information. We'll have venues posted as we get a little bit closer to that event. A Modern Open in Syracuse, and then the Season 2 Invitational in New Jersey, August 19th through the 21st.
Now, of course, for Season 2 of the SCG Tour, we've got all this cool stuff going on as far as playmats are concerned. For you playing a Standard Opener Classic, you'll get Sigarda on a playmat. You do the same for Modern. You get Ghost Quarter from Innistrad. And if you do a Legacy Opener Classic, you'll get Thalia, Guardian of Thraben. Play in a specific type of tournament, you get a specific playmat, free and exclusive here on Season 2 of the SCG Tour. As we get ready here for game number 2 between Andrew Jessup and Alex Zurawski, we'll take some time to learn a little bit more about both these players. Start with Andrew Jessup, who is now in his 4th SCG Tour Open top 8, is a 20-year-old from New York, member of Team MetaGameGurus.com, as I've mentioned a few times. Of course, that is Andrew Jessup, his brother Danny Jessup, Jim Davis, who apparently just made the top 8 of the Legacy Classic here in Indianapolis. You throw in the daddy, Kevin Jones, how can you not love him? And then Pete Ingram, #1 overall seed here, and you see a pretty successful team just debuting in Milwaukee 2 weeks ago.
You know, 2 members in the top 4 of this tournament, and Jessup here up a game, just a game away from the finals. 5 of those players have worked together for quite a long time, all live in roughly the same areas, and finally decided to make an official team out of it.
Yeah, they worked on Bant Company for SCG Baltimore for release weekend of Shadows over Innistrad. Jim Davis winning that tournament. Kevin Jones and Danny Jessup just missing the top 8 there. And now you see another dominant performance here from Team MetaGameGurus.com. So congratulations to them on a very successful weekend. But I'm sure one of them wants to leave here with the title. You know, making top 4 for both of them is very impressive. For Alex Zurawski, we don't know a ton about him, but a 3rd top 8 for him is pretty impressive stuff, and doing it with a very, I'd say, unorthodox deck here in Green-Black Infect. Again, Phyrexian Crusader, pretty potent card, however.
And we're going to feel the difference in the builds here if Peter Ingram moves on to the finals. I think Jeskai Control typically excellent against Blue-Green Infect because of just the saturation of cheap removal spells. With access to Phyrexian Crusader, that's a matchup that's much, much better for Green-Black Infect. So obviously Peter Ingram focusing on his semifinal matchup right now. We'll get more updates about that as that comes in. But I'm sure he is rooting for Jessup, not just out of team camaraderie, to come out of the semifinal matchup.
Well, while these two finish shuffling up, we did talk briefly about Max McVitie and his Clue token being debuted this weekend. For Max, winning that Columbus Invitational a couple of weeks ago netted him $10,000, an invite to Pro Tour Eldritch Moon, an invite to the Players' Championship, and of course this bad boy right here where he's doing a little bit of investigative work on some pipes, given that he is a mechanical engineer. At least that's what he's majoring in college, is the youngster. A couple different ways you can go about getting this token. It's a pretty sweet one.
If you participate in any of our opens or classics throughout Season 2, it comes with this token. And if you can't make it out to any of our large events, you can place an order from StarCityGames.com, $5 or more, and it will be shipped with this token for free. That starts May 13th, which was several days ago. So this is live now. Go ahead, place your order, $5 or more, get this Clue token.
Congrats again to Max McVitie on winning that invitational as we take a look here at Andrew and Alex. If we do have some time to jump to our backup match, we don't even have an update there, so I have to imagine we will have plenty of time to watch Pete Ingram with his Jessup deck against Daniel Hendrickson and the Green-Red Valakut deck that's had a heck of a tournament. Both players going to keep their 7. For Zurawski, he'll take a look at Jessup's hand with an Inquisition of Kozilek. Couple of lands there in Windswept Heath, Misty Rainforest, and an Inkmoth Nexus. And then you got a Glistener Elf, Become Immense, Mutagenic Growth over there as well, so pretty good hand.
And I think Nexus might be Jessup's most important threat card in the matchup because of Abrupt Decay on the other side. So having one of the open hands is a big deal, especially since his other Infect threat is being taken with a discard spell.
Reminds you a lot of maybe how Legacy Infect plays a little bit against a deck like Shardless Sultai, where they just can't kill Inkmoth Nexus well because Abrupt Decay doesn't handle it.
Right, and it's why Baleful Strix is one of the most important cards in that matchup too. Very hard for that deck to handle Inkmoth Nexus otherwise.
Down to at least 19 goes Jessup. Let's make it 17 with the breeding pool. He drew a Noble Hierarch. Pretty big draw there. Let's go over to Alex. Remember, Alex got some really good cards after sideboard. Duress being one of them. Dark Blast being another.
Well, Dark Blast is the prize here.
Yeah.
You know, you look at this hand, Nexus, Pump Spells, Noble Hierarch. If he has Dark Blast, he might go into game 3 pretty fast.
I was thinking about casting another Duress there for a moment. Slow down just a touch. Now he'll cast it, take care of the Mutagenic Growth. Going to leave Jessup with 2 fetch lands, Windswept Heath, and Inkmoth Nexus. Go Andrew's way. And get on in there. Deal 1 point of regular damage with the Noble Hierarch. There's Inkmoth Nexus, pass the turn back. Duress the draw. There's the Crusader. Clearing the way for that powerful creature. Let's go Jessup's way.
I like Jessup not just firing off the Dismember there. I think because he's gotten Duress so many times, Zurawski knows about his hand. There's a chance that Zurawski plays very aggressively with Pump Spells next turn.
I could see that. Twisted Image a draw for Andrew this turn. There's a land. Here's an activation. And an attack. Let's make it 2, in fact, thanks to the Exalted trigger. Yeah, could kind of trap him a little bit here.
Yeah, I think that's what Jessup's going for. Usually you see removal spells played straight away in Infect matchups because it's so dangerous to let the stack get built up in combat.
Well, this is smart here by Alex. He's going to lead out here with a Duress.
But Jessup was definitely trying to hook him in.
Not for Andrew. I think the question is, do I actually want to cast a Twisted Image?
Well, I think what Jessup can do here is basically he can cast the Dismember for 1 mana.
Yep.
He can also cast the Twisted Image for 1 mana on the Phyrexian Crusader first. In an ideal world, he draws either a land or a creature off of the Twisted Image, and then his hand is Duress proof.
That's true. He'll do the twist. The twist will resolve. Let's see what he draws. Inkmoth Nexus, I think?
Paid off.
Yep.
That's a big deal right there.
There's Dismember.
Fizzles the Duress, gets another threat card.
Down goes the Crusader. Duress resolves. You see a fetch land Inkmoth Nexus. The whiff. You can see Alex's hand. He's got a fetch land and a Rancor. That's it.
And that's pretty bad news here for Alex, because now Jessup has the second copy of Nexus, so he can go offense and defense. He can trade off Nexuses.
It's actually a good spot to be in.
Yep. Zurawski sort of drawing one discard spell too many. The first 2 duresses felt pretty good. The third one felt, well, he needs a threat card anyway. And on top of that, Jessup was able to sequence things to fizzle the duress altogether.
Here come the beatdowns. 3 Infect. Rancor goes back to the grip. And back over to Andrew Jessup we're going to go. He knows exactly what Alex is working with. Working with perfect information right now.
And it's worth noting that if Jessup had killed the Phyrexian Crusader straight away, he would not have been able to cycle the Twisted Image, because the only target in play would have been his Noble Hierarch, which would have died. So Jessup really got paid off for the patience, even though he wasn't able to trap a bunch of pump spells.
Twisted Image. Draw a card. Perhaps now it's time for a Noble Hierarch. What's interesting about this is how much more does Jessup want to dedicate to the board?
Well, I think what Jessup would really like to do here is attack with his Nexus for 2, play his Nexus on defense and say go, and try to trade off the Nexuses, because then he's the one with the only threat card in play. Noble Hierarch increases the clock, but then he's without a blocker for this turn, and he's at 3 Infect, there's a Rancor in hand, that's 6, so any +4 kills him. I think there's at least cause for pause there to think about what the clock looks like, but Zurawski's drawing so live to kill him right here if he doesn't have a blocker on the way back, that I think Jessup's well served to play conservative for 1 turn.
Mr. Rainforest, pass the turn back. Will Alex back over to Jessup, as we do have an update for you here. Daniel Hendrickson currently up a game over Peter Ingram. That means that the old Valakut deck up a game here over Jeskai Control.
Ladies and gentlemen, I'm looking for Joseph Eckert and Brenna Ivy, or Greg Ivy. If you're in the room, please come up to customer
That
service.
is a Windswept Heath.
Once again, Joseph Eckert.
Going to fire up some Nexuses, apparently.
I think Jessup Straw was become immense, and I think he's planning on letting it rip here.
That's a good Magic card. These will trade, maybe. Here's Become Immense. Target this way.
So little kill spells in this deck, in Zurawski's deck for this sort of spot here. One draw step, gonna go for it.
Absolutely is, and it's going to work out just fine. Andrew Jessup's going to win this match here over Alex Zurawski. 2-0. Green-Blue Infect will take care of Green-Black Infect. And for Andrew and Team MetaGameGurus.com, they've got a player in the finals here this weekend in Indianapolis.